Welcome back to another episode. Today is the day that we do, for the first time ever, OBrien's Premier League predictions. I'm Jonah, and the Premier League is just under a week away. Friday is the date. The first match takes place between Manchester City and Burnley at Turf Moor. 8 o'clock. Company versus Man City versus Burnley. Company versus Pep to kick off a new Premier League season. And most people around this time, before a new season, do predictions. And I am no different. This is going to be OBrien's Premier League predictions. So, we will have a full table prediction. All my predictions are in here. We'll have a full table prediction. So, a table prediction of who will finish 20th, 19th, and so on and so forth. So 20th up to first in terms of the table. And then we'll be giving you my golden boot, my golden glove, and then some other awards. Player of the season, young player of the season, manager of the season, overachievers, underachievers, best signing, the best signing in the summer. Worst signing is the worst signing in the summer. Most improved, the most improved player, obviously. Underrated season. That underrated season can be club or player. Overrated season again can be club or player, and then team of the season. So let's explain each of these awards. So obviously, golden boot, most goals in the Premier League. The player with the most goals in the Premier League. Golden glove, the player with the most clean sheets in the Premier League. The goalkeeper with the most clean sheets in the Premier League. Player of the season, the best player of the season. Young player of the season, the best player of the season, 21 or under. Manager of the season, the best manager based on their season, based on the season. Overachievers, the team that will overachieve, so do better than people are expecting. The underachievers, the team that will do bad compared to previous seasons. Best signing, the best signing in the signing in the summer. Worst signing, obviously the best signing the worst signing that was signed in the summer. The most improved player, like I said, is the player that's most improved. Underrated season and overrated season. So underrated season is the team or player who are going to have an underrated season based on where they finish. Or based on what they do. And that's the same with overrated season. So let's get on with it. We'll do the individual awards first. So, player of the season 2023-2024. Now, there were a lot of options. You could go Kevin De Bruyne from Arsenal, Martin Odegaard. You could go someone like from Aston Villa, maybe. If Aston Villa have a good season, you can go maybe one of their new signings, DRB. But for me, there is only one option, and it's the same guy who won it last year, and that is going to be Erling Haaland. I think he's the safe bet. If you're doing a prediction for the player of the season, he is the safe bet. I don't think he'll score as many goals as he got last season. You'll find out how many goals I think he'll score when I get to a specific golden boot prediction. But he will have just as good of a season this time around and will get the award for the second year running, which a lot of people, I don't think many players have been able to go back-to-back in terms of play, have been able to win player of the season back-to-back. Young player of the season, I may be a bit biased by who I'm going to say for young player of the season. I just think City, this team transformed their defence. The team that this player comes from, had their defence transformed last season after they went on a pretty bad run. But a change of defence and a change of personnel in defence took them not to one trophy, not to 2 trophies, but to 3 trophies. And they've added a player in that defence that for me is going to have a very good season and will win the young player of the season. I'm biased because it's my team, Man City, but my young player of the season is going to be the new boy from Croatia, Josko Gvardiol. He's 21, so he counts for this prediction. Young player of the season, for me, 21 or under. If you're 21 or under, you're eligible. So I like Saka, I don't think is eligible because I think he might be 22. I might be wrong, but Josko Gvardiol 21, so he fits my category for young player this season, 21 or under, and just generally I think he'll have a big impact. Maybe helping us win another Champions League or helping us finish more comfortably at the top of the table in the Premier League, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, my young player this season, Josko Gvardiol. Manager of the season now, I struggled with this prior to filming this video, because there are so many good managers. Pep, if City have another good season, Klopp, if Liverpool have a better season than you did last time, Ten Hag, you've got Eddie Howe, you've got Unai Emery, you've got one of the new managers like Vincent Kompany. But my manager of the season is someone who was close to winning the manager of the season last season, and that is Brighton's manager, Roberto De Zerbi. Next up, overachievers. Now, this is obviously the team that I think will overachieve, not just based on my prediction, but also based on previous predictions and how people thought of them going into the season. My overachievers, and this is obviously a good thing. Overachieving is a good thing in this case. My overachievers are going to be Burnley, because loads of people are predicting them to just avoid the drop in 17th. I've seen loads of predictions where they've just avoided the drop in 17th. I even saw one person predict them to finish rock bottom. But my overachievers are going to be Burnley. You'll find out why they're my overachievers when I give you my full table predictions. Underachievers, Wolves. You'll also see why I've put Wolves based on my predictions. I just think they're going to have a really bad season. So for Burnley, good overachieving for them is a good thing. For Wolves, underachieving is a bad thing. This is underachievers. Wolves are my underachievers for a bad reason. And you'll find out what that is in my full table predictions. Next up, best signing. Now, this is how my young player this season was Josko Gvardiol, and he is a new signing. But for new signings other than Josko Gvardiol, not just Josko Gvardiol, you've got Declan Rice, you've got Jurrien Timber, you've got Kai Havertz, you've got Moussa Diaby, you've got Bart Verbruggen at Brighton, you've got Barnes at Leicester, you've got Harvey Barnes at Newcastle, you've got also Sandro Tonali at Newcastle. Who else? Jefferson Lerma at Crystal Palace could be a good signing. Onana, obviously from United, Mount from United, Rasmus Højlund, who's just joined from United. You've got so many good signings. One signing I didn't mention, who is my pick for the best signing, is Pau Torres of Aston Villa. Sorry, not of Brighton. Pau Torres of Aston Villa. Now, you could say Jonah. There's probably 5, 6, 7 signings who have more of a chance of winning best signing, of being the best signing than Pau Torres. But I'm like, Villa are a good team defensively. Pau Torres is a very good defender. He's got Champions League experience, so he knows how to play at the top level. He's played under Unai Emery. I just think he'll adapt really well to the Premier League, and I think he'll do well enough to beat the other signings I mentioned to the best signing for me. This is my opinion. Remember, these are my opinions, so don't get salty if my opinion doesn't fit your opinion. Speaking of opinions, my opinion on who's going to be the worst signing / flop. It's another Tottenham striker, but it's an ex-Tottenham striker. My worst signing / flop signing is going to be Arnaut Danjuma, who's on loan at Everton from Villarreal. Now, I think you could say this is very harsh, given the fact it's only a loan. But they're going to bring in this striker from Sporting, who I think would start over Danjuma. he seems like the forward from Sporting Everton are going to sign. Seems very good. They haven't signed him yet, but they will sign him. Seems a very good player. So I don't know whether or not he'll start. And also, there is a chance that if he doesn't start and doesn't play enough games, that Villarreal will be like to Everton, you're not playing him enough. Either play more often, or we'll take him back. So I think there's a chance that he could be taken back, and definitely, if he spends a whole season at Everton, no chance he's going to be a flop. But I do believe he will possibly, most likely, go back to Villarreal at some point, because Villarreal will come to Everton and be like, you're not playing him, play him more, or we take him back. Most improved. Now, this may be controversial, but my most improved player is going to be Phil Foden. And you think, why? Jonah, you really think Phil Foden is going to be the most improved player? And it's just but what else can he improve? Well, I'll ask you what else Foden can improve. His goal put, because yes, he scores goals and gets assists. So his goal and assist put. Yes, he gets a decent amount of goals, decent amount of assists, but I think he needs to get more goals, more assists. Second of all, he didn't play enough last season. And I think, had he played enough last season, had he started majority of games despite his bad form, I think he would have made a difference. I think he would have got more goals, got more assists. And any sort of good season from Foden this season is an improvement over last season. I just think I'll have such a big improvement from the next season compared to last season that I just had to put him as my most improved. So most improved, Phil Foden. Underrated season. Now this is given to a club or a player based on how I think fans will underrate what they end up doing this season. So, for example, if Sheffield United survive, if Luton Town or Sheffield United survive, that's an underrated season because everyone had them in the bottom three. So if they actually survive rather than go finish in the bottom three, that's an underrated season because they were tipped to go down and get relegated, but they stayed up. My underrated season team from underrated season, I've got a team, and it's a team that I picked for my overachievers, and that is Burnley. Now you may be thinking, surely if they overachieve, then that's an overrated season. But then I'm like, no, an overrated season is you have a worse season than people are saying you will. Underrated is people are saying underrated means you're going to do much better than people are thinking you're going to do. So Burnley are going to have an underrated season because some people have predicted them 16th, 17th. I've predicted them a bit higher. So Burnley are my underrated season because they're going to have an underrated season. They're going to defy expectations and finish higher than 16th, 17th. And that's why they are my underrated season. My pick for an underrated season. My pick for an overrated season is a player. I said it was players for these two awards. It was player or team. Underrated team. Overrated player. And that overrated player is Andre Onana. He's going to have a good season, but he's not going to have as good of a season as people may think. Like, Man United fans are going to wax their and say, oh, we've got one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I don't think he's going to be one of the best goalkeepers next season. I think Ederson will be better than him. Alisson, I think, will be better than him. Pope, I think Pope will be better than him. Mina Martinez could possibly be better than him. But yeah, it does seem a bit harsh. But loads of people are saying that not just United fans, but loads of people are saying that Onana is a very good signing. But he's not going to do as good as people think he is. And that's why he's my pick to have an overrated season. Now up is the team of the season. Now, I based my team of the season off the awards that I gave. So some players are in my team of the season because I gave them an award. Some of them are in the team of the year, team of the season, my team of the season because they deserve to be in my team of the season. In goal is Liverpool's goalkeeper Alisson. You'll see why I have him in goal later on. Left back Alexander Zinchenko. I think he'll get in my team of the season for the second successive season. My centre-back pairing is based on my awards. So the two centre-backs I've gone with are my young player of the season, Josko Gvardiol, and my best signing of the season, Pau Torres for Man City and Aston Villa, respectively. Gvardiol hasn't played yet for City because he only just signed yesterday and wasn't signed in time to play today in the Community Shield final, which City sadly lost. But I think once he starts his first game and makes his first appearance for Man City, he'll bomb on from there. I just think he'll be amazing and just great. And Torres, I just think, as he's my best signing, I have to put him in to my team this season, just because I think he's going to do so well. And I think he's going to do so well to win best signing that I have to put them in. And I have to put him in my team this season. Next up at right back is one of the best players in terms of overall player, in terms of the overall ability of the player, and that is Trent Alexander-Arnold. He will be playing a lot more in the hybrid role where he starts out at right back and then drifts into the midfield, just like what Stones does for Man City. I think the reason why he's in my team this season, I don't think he's ever going to play right back ever again. I don't think he's going to start right back and stay at right back. I think every game he plays, he's going to start at right back and then move into midfield. And that's truly what I think will happen. So yeah, I have Trent in my team this season. Now, next up is my midfielders. I have two CDMs in this team, just because I couldn't separate them based on the season that I think they're going to have. These two CDMs are top 4 best CDMs in the Premier League. The top 4 best CDMs in the Premier League, not based on last season, based on just in general, in no particular order. Casemiro, Thomas Partey, and the two players that I've got in my midfield, Rodri, and Rice. So yeah, I've got Rodri because he's the best CDM in the Premier League, and I think he'll have another stellar season. And Rice, who I think will be one of the best signings of the season. Not the best, which is, for me, Pau Torres, but one of the best. And I think he'll have a good season. I think he'll help Arsenal challenge us to the title much more than Arsenal did last season. So yeah, I got Rice in because of that. Bruno Fernandes is my final midfielder. I would love to go to OBrien, but I think he's not going to have his best season next time out, especially coming off that injury he sustained in June's Champions League final. That's where I think Bruno Fernandes will take advantage. I think Bruno, as much as I hate him as a person, he's a great player, and I'm going to have him. He's my final midfielder. My front three is the two obvious ones. Bukayo Saka, going to have an amazing season, going to get double-digit goals and assists like he did last season. Yes, Salah is going to do well for Liverpool, and I do have Liverpool higher than Arsenal in my table, but I think Saka will do a better job for Arsenal than Salah will do for Liverpool. I think Saka will help contribute to Arsenal's success more than Salah will to Liverpool's success, if there is any success for Liverpool. Saka on the right, up top, Erling Haaland, no surprise there. He's my player of the season. He's going to be given another award later, which I'll tell you soon. And Phil Foden on the left. Most improved player, and I think he's going to do so well and be the most, and be so clear and will get so improved will be improved so much from this season compared to last season that he will make my team this season. So yeah, Alisson in goal, Zinchenko left back, Gavardio, Torres centre backs, Trent right back, a midfield three of Rodri, Rice in a double pivot, and Bruno Fernandes slightly above them, Saka on the right, Foden on the left, and Haaland up top. Now let's get into the big ones. We have 3 more predictions to give you today. Golden Boot, Golden Glove, and my full table predictions. Let's start with Golden Boot. I mentioned him earlier, and I mentioned stay tuned for how many goals I think Haaland's going to get, because my Golden Boot is going to be, for the second successive season, Erling Haaland. And the main reason, he's going to have another great season, and Kane is going to leave for Bayern. I don't think Kane will be in the Premier League next season, so I think he'll be the best world-class striker in the Premier League without Harry Kane, and he's going to win Golden Boot, getting 31 goals. It's not as good as he got last season with 36, but 31 goals, because I do believe he will have a drop-off in terms of Premier League goals compared to last season. A 5-goal drop-off based on 36 minus 31 equals 5. And my Golden Glove will be Alisson. I think Liverpool will get much better defensively, and I think he'll get the clean sheet record with 15 clean sheets. Now it's time for the big thing. It's time for the big prediction. It's my full table prediction. So I did some prior info hunting before. I went through every Premier League club a couple of days ago and found and wrote down in my notepad here a couple of categories. I wrote down, so my categories, let me restart. For every Premier League club, I did 6 things. They're confirmed signings, they're confirmed departures, they're possible signings, they're possible departures, with some clubs having no possible departures, their top scorer, and their clean sheets, and how many clean sheets their main goalkeeper got last year. And I use that info to decide where I put each team. In the bottom, there's a team that has to go. Every season you have to predict a team to go bottom, and the team that I'm predicting to go bottom is Sheffield United. I've got Sheffield United in 20th. If we look at their signings, they've signed Benny Traore for 4.6 million, and Anis Slimane for 2.7 million. However, they've lost one of their bigger players for 20 million, and that is Iliman Ndiaye to Marseille. I think without his goal put, and the fact that they've only got 2 signings, and the fact their squad not being strong enough to compete in the Premier League, I have got Sheffield United bottom. And another reason why I've got Sheffield United bottom is last season, they didn't, other than Iliman Ndiaye, they weren't great scoring goals. Their highest goal scorer last season, other than was Iliman Ndiaye. Second, just behind him, was Oliver McBurney with 13 goals, but I don't think he's shown that he's good enough to play in the Premier League. And as for Wes Foderingham, 18 clean sheets, but he did make a couple of mistakes. He did make one specific mistake for Sheffield United against Burnley. And I think for those reasons combined that I have got Sheffield United bottom. Second from bottom is a team that I do wish would do better, because I like them as a club. But my 19th place is Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now this may be harsh for Wolves, but loads of people are saying Wolves will get relegated. If you look at their signings, they've brought in Mateus Cunha on a permanent for 50 million, which is too much. Boubacar Traore for 11 million, and they've brought in Matt Doherty, their former player, on in a free. But the big thing about Wolves is their departures. Ruben Neves, 55 million to Saudi Arabia. Nathan Collins, 26.9 million to Brentford. Connor Cody, 8.7 million to Leicester in the Championship. Ryan Jimenez is at Fulham, has been sold to Fulham for 6.4 million. They're not linked with any signings whatsoever. And in terms of departures, there aren't many possible departures left. Their top goal scorer was Daniel Podence with 6 goals. Scoring is their problem. They've gotten rid of their only... I don't think Mateusz Cunha will score enough goals for Wolves. So that's another reason. And also, Jose Sá wasn't as good last season as he was, with 11 clean sheets. But the main reason why I've got Wolves so low and in 19th is their manager. June Lopetegui, for me, will be one of the first players. One of the managers... I think he's one of the top 5 managers at most, with the most... Who's the most top... Definitely one of the most at-risk managers, I think. If you asked me the question, who's a nominee for... Who's a manager nominee for being sacked first? I say Jose Sá would be up there for me. And I think it shows with 11 clean sheets. He's just not good enough. He's just not a good... Mate, we're talking about Jose Sá. Lopetegui has had a good managerial career. But apparently there's something going on between Wolves and Julian Lopetegui that is causing Julian Lopetegui to possibly leave the club. And if he leaves the club, I honestly don't know who Wolves will bring in. So yeah, that's why I've got Wolves in 19th. In 18th, I've got them slightly higher than other people. And that is Luton Town. Luton Town are my 18th and final relegated team. The reason why I think they'll do better than other people think is their signings. If you look at their signings are actually decent for a Championship side who haven't been in the Premier League ever. Ryan Giles for 5.85 million. Very good at Middlesbrough last season. Tahith Chong, 4.7 million from United. Very good potential. Mars Anderson. Given the fact he was playing... It may be a big step up from League One to Premier League, but he seems like he was their first signing and he seems like an okay player. Marvin Stakamba did really well on loan at them last season. They made that permanent and I think he'll do well. Thomas Kaminski was part of a Blackburn side who narrowly missed out on the playoffs. Chidozie Ogbene from Rotherham is a very promising player. They got him on the free, which is pretty good. And for me, the pick of the bunch, yes, it's only a loan, but Issa Kabore. He's a youngster on loan at Luton from Manchester City, my club. And I think he has a lot to prove, Issa Kabore. And I think he'll be one of one of Luton's better signings. And then as for their possible signings that they're linked with, don't really know much about anymore. I don't really know much about if they're linked with any other more signings. Confirmed possible departures, there aren't really any people who I've heard that could leave Luton. Maybe one of their best, maybe something could happen and one of their attackers could be given. And I think goals, they will not, and I think one of the departments they'll be okay in, for me, Luton, is goals. Last season, Carlton Morris, their striker in the Championship, scored 20 goals. I think only Gyökeres and Victor Gyökeres, formerly of Coventry, now of Sporting, and Chuba Akpom from Middlesbrough scored more goals than Carlton Morris. And he's a very good striker. If you can score 20 goals in the Championship, then I think you can score a decent amount of goals in the Premier League. And also their goalkeeper, they may have Thomas Kaminski in goal, but their goalkeeper last season, their number one goalkeeper last season, Ethan Horvath, got 19 clean sheets. So sounds like he could be a pretty promising player. The main reason why though I have the reason why I have Luton higher than other people is I just believe in them a little bit more than other people. I just think, yes, they haven't made like the best signings, but they've made enough signings to help them perform well in games. And also, Kenilworth Road will be. I know it's not the best stadium. It's pretty weird that you have to walk through a house to get into it. But if they make that a fortress, then there's nothing stopping them. If they make that a fortress, then they'll get the odd win. Like if you look at Nottingham Forest in their first season, everyone knew about that awful away record. Their home record at the City Ground, they were absolutely amazing. City Ground, Nottingham Forest at the City Ground were absolutely perfect. They beat Arsenal at the City Ground. So they beat Arsenal at the City Ground. They beat West Ham at the City Ground. They beat Liverpool at the City Ground. They drew with City at the City Ground. So their home record is good. They made the City Ground a fortress, won a lot of games, picked up a lot of points at the City Ground. If Luton make their stadium a fortress, like Nottingham Forest did with the City Ground, or like Leeds did with Ellen Road in their first season, then I think they'll be fine. Then I think they'll get the odd win at home, and I think that home form will help them finish 18th, just inside the relegation zone. 17th for the third successive season, in my opinion. Everton are going to be in 17th. Now, if we look at their signings, Jonah from Villarreal. He's a decent striker. There's a chance if he doesn't play enough with the arrival of a Sporting striker, there's a chance he could be called back by Villarreal. So that's why I'm worried about the signing of him. Because loan players have gone back to their parent clubs in the middle of the season before. They got rid of a person in their side who's been a burden for a while, Moise Keane. They sold him for 30 million on a permanent to Juventus. So pretty good business. The striker they're going to be signing, who's having his medical tomorrow, is a Sporting forward. Is a forward from Sporting called Chermiti. He's having his medical tomorrow. Yesterday, and he's young, but he seems like a good, decent youngster. See, I'm interested to see how well he does. And they're linked with Wilfried Gnonto from Leeds. If they get that signing, then I think they're settled in attack. Jonah can score goals. Chermiti, yes, he's young, but I assume he'll be able to get a decent amount of goals. But Wilfried Gnonto, if they sign him, he's going to be their best player. I think he has skill, he's the assisting, he has the passing ability, goal scoring ability. I think he's just a great player. If Everton were to get him, which is going to be tough because he may want a Champions League, Wilfried Gnonto may want a season in the Championship, you never know. But if they can get Wilfried Gnonto to replace the player that could be going out, Damari Gray, then I think they're in for a good season. I think if they sign Gnonto, if they were able to sign Wilfried Gnonto and Damari Gray, and he was able to replace what Damari Gray did last season, which was a decent amount, then I think they'll be better. They'll be higher. Dwight McNeil, their top goal scorer last season with 7 goals, will only get better at goal scoring. I liked him at Burnley. I think he's a very capable goal scorer and a very capable player. If he can be on his A game, then Everton could finish higher than 17th. Pickford was a bit let down. Let his team down a little bit in terms of clean sheets, only picking up 8, and he's a good goalkeeper. But the reason why I have Everton 17th is there's just so much hanging over their heads. There's so much going on in that club. I just don't know where their heads are at in terms of where the players' heads are at, and I just feel like that's going to have an effect on where they finish next season. Just outside the relegation zone is Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth. Last season I predicted Bournemouth to get relegated. This season, I'm not going to take that mistake. I'm not going to make the same mistake by saying they'll get relegated. So I've got Bournemouth in 16th. Bournemouth have made some good, promising, some good signings. For a small Bournemouth, they've made some good signings. They've signed Hamed Junior Traore for 25.62 million. Milos Kerkez, who apparently had a very good season at AZ Alkmaar in the Dutch Eredivisie for 17.87 million. They've got a capable goalkeeper that they brought in Inat Radu. It's only on a loan, but still not bad business. And the pick of the bunch for me and for a lot of people was their acquisition of 11.2 million of Justin Kluivert. They lost one of their best midfielders on a free, Jefferson Lerma, to one of the teams we were talking about earlier, later Crystal Palace. They're linked with Alex Scott from Bristol, but it does look like they're going to get a midfielder it's unlikely if they get the midfielder. They're currently linked with a midfielder, with getting a midfielder. If they get that midfielder they're currently linked with, then I don't think Alex Scott, they will go back into Alex Scott, which, as they've already had a bid rejected for Alex Scott. But if they get Alex Scott, he would help give them another dimension. Their top goal scorer was Philip Billing, so hopefully, for Bournemouth's sakes, Solanke can step up. Maybe, possibly, Kluivert can help himself to a few goals. Philip Billing can just continue being a great midfielder and be a great goal scoring midfielder he is. And also, Neto's a good goalkeeper, so, I don't have too much concerns about Bournemouth. The only real, honest concern I have about Bournemouth is their manager, Andoni Iraola. And the only reason why that is because I know nothing about him. All I know is last season he managed Spanish side Rayo Vallecano. I don't know where they finished in the Bundesliga, in the Liga, but to go from a Spanish club like Rayo Vallecano to an English club, to a Premier League club like Bournemouth, is a big step up. And I think they were in a good position with Gary O'Neill. And I think they, for me, personally made the wrong decision sacking him. And I think that's what could come back to bite them in the end. But I don't think my reservations over their manager is enough to have me put them in the relegation zone. So they finish in 16th. In 15th, Nottingham Forest, they brought in some good signings. They brought in Anthony Elanga for 17.5 million. Not a bad youngster. Is that Man United? Promising youngster. Chris Wood, 17 million, which you did pretty well, despite only getting, you did pretty well for Nottingham Forest, surprisingly, last season. And they've got Premier League experience with Ola Aina, formerly of Fulham. Bought on a free after his contract at Torino expired. So yeah, three good signings from Nottingham Forest. Dean Henderson, I think they're linked currently. They're still currently in conversation with both Man United for the signing of Dean Henderson on the permanent, and Arsenal of signing their backup goalkeeper on a loan. Matt Turner. If they get Matt Turner and Dean Henderson in, that's two capable goalkeepers. Matt Turner's not amazing, but he's done well. Dean Henderson is a great goalkeeper on his day. Those two, as their goalkeepers, I think Nottingham Forest will be defined defensively. They've also got a good defence in front of them. Possible departures, couldn't really think of any. I wanted to think of at least one possible departure for Nottingham Forest, so I just went John Joe Shelby, because I think he's not good enough to play for Nottingham Forest. There were no players have left Forest this season, which for me will be a good thing based on the fact that I finished 15th. And also goals in terms of goal scoring, I think they're fine. Towanyi, their Nigerian striker, got 10 goals last season. That was more than Brendan Johnson in terms of Premier League. That was more than Brendan Johnson, more than Gibbs White. So he did pretty well. And Dean Henderson, when he did play before he got injured and Navas replaced him, got 6 clean sheets. So I don't think Nottingham Forest are that bad off for this season, and so I have them in 15th. My overachievers and my team, my pick for the team or player to have an underrated season, Burnley, for me, are going to be in 14th. The signings of Zeki Amdouni, who's for 18.6 million. James Trafford for 17.3 million. Jordan Bayer for 15 million euro. For 15 million. Turning his loan from last season into a permanent this season. Dara O'Shea for 7.8 million. And Michael Obafemi on a permanent from Swansea City for 4 million. I think all of those are good signings. Ashley Barnes, they lost for free, so they will miss the sort of captain Ashley Barnes is, but they've got two very capable goal scorers who did really well in terms of goal scoring in the Championship, and those were Manuel Benson, who was Burnley's highest scorer in the Championship with 13 goals, and Anas Sawari, who are two guys that I'm looking really forward to seeing play for Burnley. James Trafford, their new goalkeeper signing last season was at Nottingham Forest, was at Bolton in League One, where he made 17 clean sheets. So I think they got a good team with a goal scorer with a winger who scored 13 goals, with a goalkeeper who's got 17 clean sheets in League One. Yes, League One's a big step up. Yes, it's a big step up from League One to the Premier League, but still. But the main reason why I got Burnley so high in 14th is Vincent Kompany. I don't know what's so great about him. I think he did so well last. I just think he did so well last season with the company. I think one of the best managers, but best first seasons any sort of manager has had. And I just think he's had Burnley been playing at a style that suits the Premier League. The way Burnley plays suits the Premier League. And that's the reason why their play suits the Premier League is mainly down to Vincent Kompany. So for that main reason of Vincent Kompany being their manager, I got Burnley in 14th. Not much to say about my 13th place team. I want to make this as clear as possible. Crystal Palace in 13th. They've only brought in one signing, but they've brought in a good signing in Jefferson Lerma for free. Yeah, they lost Wilfried Zaha. It's going to be hard to replace. You thought maybe it could be hard to replace the goals, but they have today confirmed the signing of Mateus Franca from Fluminense. He's a young Brazilian midfielder or attacker, and if he hits the ground running, then people will be like, we thought we missed the goals the Zaha got, but we got this Mateus Franca who's very good at scoring goals. Eric Eze, if he's firing on all cylinders, their top goal scorer from last season with 10 goals. If he's firing on all cylinders and if their goalkeepers are doing good enough, making saves and all that sort of stuff, I think Crystal Palace will do really well. I love Roy Hodgson. I think he'll do a really good job with Crystal Palace. The one thing hanging over Crystal Palace is Michael Olise's injury, but also the chance that they could lose Michael Olise before he even comes back from injury. Because Michael Olise has been linked with my club Man City and Chelsea. So that's the only thing hanging over Crystal Palace. If they kept Michael Olise, I think they will finish higher than 13th. But as I think they won't keep Michael Olise, I think he'll go to us. I think he'll come to us over Chelsea. I have to have them 13th. So if Michael Olise stays, they'll finish higher than 13th. But as I don't think he stays, they're going to finish 13th for me. Next up, in 12th, I've got Fulham. They're going to have a downgrade this season compared to last season. They signed Calvin Bassey, who's a very good defender, and they signed Raul Jimenez, who can score goals in the Premier League. They lost Manal Solomon, but it was inevitable they're going to lose Manal Solomon, give you on a loan deal. They're possibly going to get Demarai Gray from Fulham, from Everton, and Demarai Gray likes the move from Everton to Fulham. He does like the move to Everton from Fulham. So if they sign him, he'll give them goal outputs. The goals are not going to be the problem for them if they get Demarai Gray in. But speaking of goals, the one thing that makes me doubt, that makes me happy to be putting Fulham in 12th is their striker, Alexander Mitrovic. 14 goals last season. Only Ivan Toney, Marcus Rashford, Erling Haaland, and Harry Kane scored more goals than him in the Premier League last season. I said goals aren't going to be a problem, but goals are going to be a problem if Fulham do not find someone who's better at goal scoring than Raul Jimenez to replace Alexander Mitrovic. Raul Jimenez is a good striker and can score in the Premier League, but you need someone who can. You don't need someone who can score once or a few goals in the Premier League. You need someone who can score 14, 15, 16 goals in the Premier League, like Alexander Mitrovic. I think Alexander Mitrovic will leave, and I think if they don't replace the goal input from Alexander Mitrovic, they could fall down my table predictions. But for now, I think they've made it good enough. They've made two decent signings. Calvin Bassey to stand out, and I think they will stay out of trouble in 12th. 11th, Brentford again. Just like Fulham, they're going to have a downgrade from this season compared to last season. Brentford have signed Nathan Collins, Kevin for 26.85 million from Wolves. Kevin Schott on a permanent from the Bundesliga for 25 million, and Mark Flecken from the Bundesliga for 13 million. They've not lost any players yet. Possible signings, there aren't any possible signings that I've found. The possible departure that's hanging over them is David Raya, but if they lose David Raya, they've got Mark Flecken, who's a capable goalkeeper, as he did get 13 clean sheets in the Bundesliga. Yes, it's the Bundesliga, but still, 13 clean sheets is pretty good. And he got 13 clean sheets in the Bundesliga. That was more clean sheets in the Bundesliga than Raya got in the Premier League. Raya in the Premier League got 12 clean sheets. Flecken in the Bundesliga got 13 clean sheets. So even if they lose De Gea, even if they lose David Raya, they'll still have Mark Flecken as backup, as their main goalkeeper. And I think that's not the worst. The thing that hangs over them, just like Fulham, is their goal, is their striker. It's less of a problem for Brentford than it is for Fulham. Because with Fulham, it looks like Mitrovic is going to leave permanently. With Toney, he's just out for 6 months because of his ban for breaching betting rules. But if Wissa and Mbeumo can score the goals for the next 6 months before Ivan Toney comes back, then I think that's great. If Wissa and Mbeumo are firing in all cylinders, by the time Ivan Toney comes back, I think they'll score loads of goals. And I think Ivan Toney could still score a lot of goals, despite the fact he'll be making his first appearance this current season, in the second half of the season. But like I said, if Mbeumo and Wissa can take over goal scoring duties, which they have done so far for Ivan Toney while he's out for the next 6 months, then I think Brentford will be able to do much better with Ivan Toney alongside Mbeumo and Wissa than they. So yeah, hopefully, like I said, Wissa, Mbeumo, hopefully you can make sure hopefully you can get the goals that Brentford will be missing from Ivan Toney, and if you do, then I think you could finish higher. Thomas Frank is a great manager, and I think he will keep them up in 11th. because I like him as a manager. They made a few good signings. Yes, they'll lose David Raya, but they've got Mark Flecken. Yes, they're without Anthony for the next 6 months, but Mbeumo and Wissa that could be a blessing, but that could be a blessing in disguise for Visser and Mbeumo. And they showed at the end of last season, but also in pre-season, that they can score goals just like Ivan Toney. So I think goals won't be the biggest problem at Brentford, and that's why I have them slightly above Fulham. But still, they will have a downgrade. They'll have a worse season than last season. In the middle of the park, West Ham lost Declan Rice. Haven't signed anyone yet. It looks like they're going to sign Edson Alvarez, but other than possibly signing Edson Alvarez and losing Declan Rice, they're linked with James Ward-Prowse. The last time we heard about West Ham and James Ward-Prowse was that West Ham had walked away. But is that a negotiation tactic for West Ham? While West Ham going to go back in for Ward-Prowse later on? I do think buying if West Ham bring in Ward-Prowse and Edson Alvarez to replace Declan Rice, then I think they'll be fine. And yes, they will have European distraction with the Europa League because of winning the Conference League. But I think West Ham will take the Premier League very seriously, and I've got them in 10th. 9th, Aston Villa. The top 9 were really hard to decide the order of them, but I've got Villa in 9th. Aston Villa signed Moussa Diaby from Leverkusen for 55 million. Pau Torres from Villarreal for 33 million. And Youri Tielemans on the free, which is a very good pickup. Those are 3 very good signings who have started pretty well for Aston Villa. They lost Ash Young on the free, but he's not the biggest player. They're linked with Tyler Adams, apparently. They're apparently linked with Tyler Adams from Leeds. That would be a good signing. He's got Premier League experience and he's a very good player. That would be a good signing if they were to pull it off. They're going to lose. They still haven't got rid of Philip Coutinho, which is a problem. Ollie Watkins, hopefully he can continue his goal scoring form with 50. Hopefully he can continue his goal scoring form in the Premier League. I think with an all-firing Watkins, an all-firing Moussa Diaby, who's already scored 2 goals for Villa in pre-season, then I think they're great. But yeah, Aston Villa, like I said, Moussa Diaby, Pau Torres, Youri Tielemans. 3 good signings. Ashley Young isn't the biggest loss. Possibly bringing Tyler Adams from Leeds is good. Coutinho, they had to get rid of him soon enough. Their squad is better off without Coutinho than it is with Coutinho. Top goals got Ollie Watkins, I think will have another stellar season. And I think Emi Martinez will do better in terms of clean sheets than he did last season. He got 11 clean sheets last season. I think he'll do a bit better getting 13 clean sheets or something like that. But yeah, Villa, so really, I'm not sure really what else to say from Villa. They'll obviously have US Conference League. And if the same thing happens to them in the Premier League that happened to this season, that happened to West Ham in the Premier League last season, when they were in the Conference League, then they're in for a bad season. But Aston Villa, I think, are in a better position, are a better team than West Ham. This Aston Villa team right now is better than the West Ham team that started last season. The West Ham team started last season. No Declan Rice. The Villa team that started this season is basically the same team that did so well last season, getting Villa into the Conference League. Villa just made some very good signings, but I've only put them 9th because I do believe that the teams that I've got above them will do slightly better. And one of those teams in 8th is Brighton. Some great signings from Brighton. Some really, really, really good signings from Brighton. João Pedro from Watford for 34.2. Maybe a bit of an overpay. Because he was in the Championship, but he's a good player. Bart Verbruggen from Anderlecht, who used to work under Vincent Kompany, for 20 million. Seems like a decent goalkeeper. He came on in a friendly for Brighton at halftime earlier today. and didn't concede a goal. So that's pretty good. Keeping a clean sheet in your first appearance. And they've signed a new centre-back who was in the Conference League final alongside West Ham last season, and that is Igor, the Brazilian centre-back. I think those three good signings. The loss of McAllister may seem bad, but it's not as bad as people may think. Robert Sanchez was a great idea. Send him to Chelsea. Chelsea can have him. I don't think Brighton need him. Brighton have got Bart Verbruggen. They've got Jason Steele, who was apparently very nervy early on in Brighton's early on friendly, but he's still a decent goalkeeper and had good performances for Brighton last season. They're linked with a move for Cole Palmer. However, they want a permanent. They want to sign Cole Palmer permanently, but City would prefer Cole Palmer go out on loan. The main problem right now for Crystal Palace is Moises Caicedo's future is uncertain. But if Brian keep Moises Caicedo, I think they'll do much better. I think they'll finish much higher than they've got them. If they lose Moises Caicedo, I think they'll fall. I think they'll finish like 10th, 11th, rather than 8th. But if they do lose Caicedo and Pascal Gross continues to score like he did last season, and Bart Verbruggen who kept 8 clean sheets in the Belgium league, then I think they have nothing to worry about, and I got them in 8th. 7th, and just missing out on the top 6 is Spurs. Not much to say. They could lose Kane. They're probably going to lose Kane, and I think without Kane, they're just not good enough. And yes, their signings of James Maddison, Pedro Porro, and yes, their signings of James Maddison for 46.3 million, Pedro Porro for 40 million, Kulusevski for 30 million, Vicario for 20 million, and Solomon for 3 are good. For me, without Kane, Spurs are not a good team, and they will struggle without him. And the fact that Kane scored 4 goals earlier today in Tottenham's friendly against Shakhtar Donetsk makes me be like, Spurs are in trouble if they lose Harry Kane. And because I think they will lose Harry Kane, I've got them in 7th. Despite signing James Maddison, Pedro Porro, Kulusevski, Vicario, and Solomon, who are all very good signings. In 6th are Chelsea, the team with the biggest rebuild. The team that had the biggest rebuild job this season to improve on that 12th place finish. And that is Chelsea. They signed Nkunku for 60 million from Leipzig, Nicholas Jackson from Villarreal for 37 million, Leslie Ugochukwu for 27 million, Sanchez for 25 million, and a guy called Dizazi from Lyon, who I don't know the fee they paid for him, but they signed him as well. They've lost Kai Havertz for 75 million to Arsenal, Mason Mount for 64.2 million to Man United, Kovacic for 29.1 million to Man City, Koulibaly for 23 million, Edouard Mendy for 18.5 million, and Kante for 3, all to the Saudi Pro League. Loftus-Cheek for 16 million, Christian Pulisic for 20 million to AC Milan, Cisco Ezequiel contract terminated, heading to Atletico Madrid. Pierre Aubameyang contract terminated, off to Marseille. They've done really well to get rid of the players they don't need, but also bring in signings that they could help them. And I think they will finish 6th. I think Pochettino is a great manager. And if they get Moises Caicedo from Brighton, I would consider possibly putting them above my team in 5th. But as of now, my team in 5th is Newcastle. Good signings. Very good signings. Harvey Barnes, Sandro Tonali, 64 million, AC Milan. Harvey Barnes, 44 million from Leicester. And Tegan Livermore, which hasn't gone through yet, but it will happen, for 46 million from Southampton. 3 good signings to add to the many good players they've already got. Alan St-Maximin for 27.2 million. Losing Alan St-Maximin for 27.2 million to Saudi Arabia. No, not bad at all. Not the worst. Not the worst thing to happen. Chris Wood, they've lost Chris Wood. That's fine. Right now, they're not linked with anyone. They're not linked with signing anyone. They're not linked with anyone. And there's no signs of any of their players leaving. Callum Wilson and Isaac, they've got 2 very capable strikers. One, Callum Wilson, who scored 18 goals. And 2, Isaac, who actually performed really well when he came in January. But also, not only do they have not only are they good on the top side of the pitch, they're also good on the bottom side of the pitch with Nick Pope, who kept 13 clean sheets last season in the Premier League. The reason why Newcastle do not finish top 4 is I think my 4 teams, because I think the teams in my top 4 either had a great season last time out or have improved us, are even better than they were last season, or have improved than they were, or have become a better team than they were last season. Looking at you, Liverpool. So that's why Newcastle can't finish 50th, but still very good. Newcastle 4th Champions League, finishing 4th last season, and then following up with a 5th place finish and a decent one in the Champions League would be very good. Don't get me wrong, I would take that. If I was a Newcastle fan, I would take that. Speaking of my top 4, let's get into 4th. Manchester United. They've signed Andre Onana from Inter Milan for 52.5 million. Mason Mount from Chelsea for 64.2 million. And, most recently, Højlund for 83 million euros. 72 million pounds. Literally, the other day. They literally announced him yesterday. They've lost Anthony Elanga, fine. They've lost Telles, fine. They lost De Gea on a free, fine. Possible departures, Harry Maguire. Their top goal scorer last season, Rashford, is going to, with 17 goals, is going to score more goals. Andre Onana in the Serie A kept 17 clean sheets. Yes, the Serie A is different from the Premier League, but still, to keep 17 clean sheets in the Serie A is promising. But the reason why, for me, Man United are 4th, is I think there is room for improvement in Onana's game. He's fine. He's a fine goalkeeper, but he's already made a mistake. He's only been at the club for a few weeks, and he's already made a mistake. Yesterday in Man United's friendly against Lens from France, he's conceded a halfway line stunner. He conceded a goal from the halfway line. So, not the best of starts for Andre Onana, and that's why I'm worried. That's why I'm worried that they could concede a lot of goals. United, if they're not kept with Onana in goal, because he can be error prone. But also, the reason why Man United aren't higher is the 3 teams, for me, above are just far clear of anyone else. For me, right now, are far clear from everyone else. In 3rd, may shock you. In 3rd, I've got Arsenal. Now, Arsenal. Declan Rice, West Ham, 116.6 million euros. Kai Havertz, 75 million euros asked from Arsenal. Ewan Timber from Ajax for 40 million euros. They've lost Granit Xhaka, which is a pretty big loss, which is weird to say, given the fact where he was 2-3 years ago. They're linked with Raya. I think it's a stupid move, because why have 2 first-choice goalkeepers in Ramsdale and Raya? Because you're going to make one of them unhappy. One of them unhappier than the other. They still haven't lost Nicola Pepe, which is a bit concerning. To have him in the squad could bring them down a little bit. Top goal scorer, they had two top goal scorers. They had two top goals players equal on goals scored in the Premier League in terms of last season. Their two top goal scorers in the Premier League were Martinelli and Odegaard with 14. They're good players. If those two, Saka and whoever they have up top, whether it be Jesus or Havertz, if they can somehow become a great could foursome, then I think Arsenal could take that extra step. But right now I've got them third just because but I've got them third just because I do think the Champions League could hinder Arsenal. And I mean that, and I don't mean that. I mean that. I do think Champions League could be a distraction for Arsenal. Could be a distraction from the Premier League for Arsenal. Whereas the two teams above, I just don't think will get phased by being in European competition. Well, I don't think their Premier League season will be ruined because they focus too much on Champions League, on European football. But also, as they proved last season, there is a vulnerability to them. So they're going to, for me, finishing in third. Second, for me, is the only team that's really pushed City, like super close, and that is Liverpool. They've signed Alexis McAllister for 70 million. Dominic Szoboszlai for 42 million. They've lost Fabinho, 46 million to Saudi Arabia. Fine. Lost John Henderson for 40 million to Saudi Arabia. Fine. They lost Roberto Firmino on a free. Fine. They lost Naby Keita on a free. Fine. They lost James Milner on a free. Fine. They're still linked with Romeo Lavia. They're also linked with Calvin Phillips. But Calvin Phillips did say he wants to stay and fight for his position at City. They could lose Joe Matip, Joe Gomez, Nathaniel Phillips, and Thiago's getting old. He's getting a year older every year. Salah, 19 goals, I think. Salah's going to have another great season. I think he'll finish second in terms of the Golden Boot, with 26 goals, behind Haaland with 31, or around about 26 goals, maybe 25, maybe 24, maybe 23, maybe 28, maybe 30, and Haaland just beats him out to the Golden Boot by 1 goal. And also Alisson. Yes, Liverpool's defence was bad last season, utterly, really, really bad. One of the worst defences of last season. But Alisson still got 14 clean sheets. 14 clean sheets in a 38-game season with that bad a defence is pretty impressive. And the reason why I just think Liverpool will finish second above Arsenal is for one reason only. I think Liverpool having Europa League gives them an advantage over Arsenal, who have Champions League. So that's why I've got Liverpool second. But in first place. We're up to my first place. You obviously earlier on I did multiple 23, 24 predictions before I started doing this table. And let me refresh you. Player of the season, I said Erling Haaland. Young player of the season, I said Joshua Gvardiol. Best signing, I mentioned Joshua Gvardiol for best signing. I chose Phil Foden as my most improved player. I had Gvardiol, Rodri, Haaland and Foden in my team of the season based on my predictions. Is there any real reason? Do I really have to explain myself about my number one? My number one, not biased at all, because I actually truly believe this. Even if I was I think if I was a United fan, an Arsenal fan, I do think I would predict Man City to win the league. Matej Kovacic is a better signing than people may think. He started off really well. He's not going to have the goal input of Ilkay Gundogan, but he is sure going to have the quality that Ilkay Gundogan possesses in terms of on the ball. And Joshua Gvardiol, 90 million euros. Very good fee for a 21-year-old. I think he's going to be the best defender next season. Best defender next season. And I think there'll be decent competition from Gabriel, Saliba, Stones, Ake, Akanji, Diaz from Man City, from Josko Gvardiol's club, from the same club as Josko, Man City. They lost Ilkay Gundogan on a free, but that's fine. We've replaced him with Kovacic. Yes, not like for like, but still. We've replaced him with Kovacic, and Kovacic has done really well as a replacement for Gundogan so far. Riyad Mahrez, left, gone. Saudi Arabia, went off to Saudi Arabia, 35 million. Not a problem when you're linked with Michael Olise from Crystal Palace and Jeremy Doku from Rennes. We could still lose Kyle Walker, but I think based on the fact he's played the last 2-3 games, and also given the fact that we've offered him a new contract, I don't see Kyle Walker leaving. The only other player I see leaving Man City this season is João Cancelo. I see Kyle Walker staying. I don't see him going to Bayern. I see Bernardo Silva staying. I see him signing a new contract because City have offered him a new contract and I think he'll sign it. But there are 2 reasons why I definitely have to put Man City in. Number 1, the first reason is best defence in the league last season in the Premier League alongside Newcastle. The best defence in terms of goals conceded in the Premier League. But also in terms of personnel in the defence. For me, City have in terms of personnel on the bench in defence, City for me has the best defence in the world. Akanji, Ake, Diaz. Akanji, Ake, Diaz, Stones. 4. You can start those 4. But then, one game you could take Akanji out and put in Gvardiol. Take Ake out and put in Gvardiol. We'll be just fine. Take Stones out and put in Gvardiol. We'll be all fine. Take Diaz out, put in Gvardiol. We'll be fine. Kyle Walker, experienced defender. Very good experienced defender. And also, if Laporte stays, I think Laporte could do a decent job. I think if Laporte stays, he will be given some game time. And to be fair, given the fact that City have put a £30 million price tag on him, I don't think he will stay at City. I do believe he will sign for someone, at least. But the 2 main reasons why I think City will win the Premier League for the 4th year in a row, become the first team to win 4 Premier Leagues in a row. Erling Haaland, who's going to have another stellar season, and Ederson, who at the end of last season was on really good form. 2 amazing stays in the Champions League final. And it's those 2 reasons, and also the new signings of Mateo Kovacic and Gvardiol, and not losing too much, and not like losing too much through the losses of Gundogan and Riyad Mahrez. Because of all that stuff, and also the fact that we could get a decent winger in Michael Olise from Palace or Jeremy Doku from Rennes, I have Man City in first and winning the Premier League for the 4th year in a row, becoming the first ever team to win 4 Premier League titles in a row. Let's recap quickly my full table predictions. 20th Sheffield United, 19th Wolves, 18th Luton, 17th Everton, 16th Bournemouth, 15th Forest, 14th Burnley, Palace 13th, 12th Fulham 12th, Brentford 11th, West Ham 10th, Villa 9th, Brighton 8th, Spurs 7th, Chelsea 6th, Newcastle 5th, Man United 4th, Arsenal 3rd, Liverpool 2nd, and my champions, my own team, Manchester City 1st. That is we are done with my Premier League table prediction for 23-24. My Golden Boot prediction for 2024. My Golden Glove prediction for 2024. And my predictions in 2023-24 for Player of the Season, Young Player of the Season, Manager of the Season, Overachievers, Underachievers, Best Signing, Worst Signing, Most Improved, Underrated Season, Overrated Season, and Team of the Season. Hopefully you enjoyed this prediction video. Subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell to catch up with all my latest videos. And tune in next week on Thursday night where I do my match 1 predictions for the 2023-2024 Premier League predictions. This has been OBrien, and until that Game Week 1 predictions video for the Premier League 23-24 season, I am out. Peace.